If you live in Seattle, or if you have a business in Seattle and the police call you and say, hey, look, you know all that tax money that you spent for the police department to, keep order and enforce law and, keep your, property from getting vandalized and burned down and what have you when you're not around. We're not doing that anymore. You're just going to have to take care of all your security on your own. The people of Seattle are not going to like what happens next. All right, everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. And today I'm going to be covering, just more of this insanity that's going on that, I wish I could just, forget about this and move on to something else, but this is some serious shit, and a lot of you guys out there, you're really not getting, the proper amount of news from, the proper amount of different sources, and a lot of those sources are left-leaning. All right, for instance, all of this bullshit about these are peaceful protests and all that other bullshit. Listen, we're now going on 2 months here, and there's been a lot of extensive violence, deaths, beatings, and, arson and robbery, the works, okay, to including a full-blown insurrection up there in Seattle. I just think it's in everyone's best interest if you hear it from somebody who's a tactical thinker about what the fuck is actually going on. Now, we're going to start over here. All right, now, we've all heard about this, a militia, not fucking around, African coalition or whatever. Listen, personally, I don't give a fuck who you are, what color you are, where you come from. If you're a citizen of this country, you have the right to keep and bear arms. Got it. All right. Now, this particular militia has mustered up some decent numbers and actually had people out marching, which, to a lot of people is relatively intimidating. If they have 200 to 500 people and you don't, that's bad. That's not good at all. Apparently, at the protest that they just had, there was an accidental discharge. 3 individuals from their organization were wounded and have been treated in the hospital, and they're doing just fine. Now, I've seen on Facebook and other news sources about, rival militias showed up and 3 of them got shot. Listen, that's not what happened. Okay, there wasn't any, rival militias shooting at each other, which may or may not happen down the road, and there is a very good chance that it might happen. Especially this particular group has actually threatened to burn down the city, if if they don't get Texas, and 2, if some individual isn't vindicated or action isn't taken in regards to a shooting that took place earlier in the year. That is not good. Now, there was a counter-protest with another militia group that was there that didn't have the numbers that, NFAC had. We're probably going to see that change moving forward as, more of the, militia organizations come together or make agreements to support each other. These numbers can get really big and very dangerous really quick. All right, now we're going to cover the Portland, Oregon Federal Police, debacle. The federal courthouse has been under siege for months, and I believe the protesters actually broke into the courthouse, I think, a couple weeks back. They used acetylene torches and cutting saws to get through the fences and so forth. Now listen, a peaceful protest, you're out front of the courthouse with signs, yelling, screaming, whatever. Okay, you're not cutting through barricades, breaking into the place. That's bullshit. Once that happens, it's not a peaceful protest. Okay, it is a siege, or it's a flat-out attack. Now, another thing that's going on here is, several of these agents have been blinded with lasers. I'll go into more detail in the other board. Commercial-grade fireworks have been launched into the compound and at the federal agents. There's been fire bombs used, which is gas, alcohol, or oil with some type of combustible gadget to make it go up. And again, I talked about the torches and the saws that's taken place here at the protests at Portland. Isn't Antifa and BLM, or is it just Antifa from Portland area, Seattle area? I don't know, but it's kind of crazy how this is taking place. People are getting injured, and all I hear is, it's a peaceful protest, and federal cops, which are, Trump's Gestapo, are running down people and arresting them. Now, have people been arrested? Yes. Have people been detained? Yes. But nobody's being executed or disappeared. All right, no one's being tortured. These are federal police with police powers to do that kind of shit. And if anybody does get detained on a permanent to semi-permanent basis without going through the stages needed for that to take place, you need to look at Obama, who signed that into law, that the government had the powers to do that. Now, from what I've heard, they have not done that as of yet, but there are roughly, I think, 20 individuals who are looking at pretty hefty charges, and if found guilty, are looking at severe amounts of time. Federal time is not state time. You will do 90% of that before you even or have a possibility of parole. And that's just that. Now, all of this could have been avoided if they just stayed away from the federal property and left it the fuck alone. But they don't want to. They're looking for some type of photo op or propaganda op showing, Trump's police force beating peaceful people, which we are not there anymore. We have the Chaz riots are basically sparking up again. There's been, I think it was 150 to 200 individuals got together in Seattle and went on a rampage, set shit on fire, and it's reported that explosives were used. And the Seattle Police Department has been blocked from using less than lethal force to control this, which has resulted in the chief of police of Seattle contacting the citizens and residents of that city, to include business owners, that you are just flat out on your own. If you live in Seattle, or if you have a business in Seattle and the police call you and say, hey, look, all that tax money that you spent for the police department to, keep order and enforce law and, keep your, property from getting vandalized and burned down and what have you when you're not around. We're not doing that anymore. You're just going to have to take care of all your security on your own. The people of Seattle are not going to like what happens next. All right, when enough people have had enough, they're going to get together and they're going to have firearms. You show up to a business to do whatever you're going to do, and you're going to get shot. And there really is, I can't really blame people for doing that. You need to protect yourself and protect your livelihood. It is what it is. If the police aren't going to do their job, then the citizens have to do it themselves. And that's just the way it is. All right, now some people will say, oh, Popp, vigilante justice is not right. Well, if it's all you have, it's all you have. So, you can hate me if you want. I'm just telling you the truth. All right, now Austin, Texas, we had an individual, a Black Lives Matter protester, carrying an AK-47, who moments before this incident actually gave an interview stating that he would carry his weapon because, he didn't have to worry about it because the citizens were a bunch of pussies. Well, that's fucking Texas, man. Texas don't play. So from what I've read, individual pointed a gun at the individual in the car. Guy in the car pulled out a firearm and boom, smoked him.
Everybody back up!
He died en route to the hospital and was pronounced dead on arrival. That's terrible. I'm sorry that happened. It was completely unnecessary. But if you're driving on a road which you're authorized to be on, and your car is surrounded, and people are banging on it and trying to, crack open the windows or whatever they're trying to do, and somebody presents themselves with a rifle, and you have a weapon, I believe you're well within your rights to defend yourself at that point. And that's exactly what we had here. Now, there's also, scuttlebutt that the feds are in Detroit to assist the Detroit Police Department. I have since saw on several news feeds that the chief of police of Detroit welcomes the federal police to back anything that goes violent, which is actually the right answer. Detroit's had some crazy stuff going on. There's been shootings on the freeways from individuals off the freeway firing onto the freeway on Detroit's west side on the major highways coming in and going out of the city. Other than that, there's some shit that happens here and there, but it hasn't really got out of hand as of yet. Let's knock on some wood. All right, we're going to move over to the other board here.
It is no secret that men have become the cultural scapegoats of the Western world. When you're born, they cut the tip off, and then when you reach adulthood, they go for the shaft. If you're sick and tired of this Marxist bullshit, pick up a copy of The Rules: Reclaiming Your Freedom, Your Manhood, and Your Sanity. This is the book you need to start winning. Download a free PDF or buy the printed version right now. Links are in the description.
All right, now, another thing that I'm pretty disappointed at is we've had the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, and NASCAR come out in support of Black Lives Matter. I think this is a huge mistake because Black Lives Matter has basically been hijacked by a Marxist movement. Even some of the founders and leaders of the organization have come out in public stating that. And I believe it was the NFL or the NBA who gave BLM $250 million. That's a lot of money to give individuals who are pushing a terrorist agenda. All right, now BLM, I gave it the nickname Burn, Loot, Murder because actions speak louder than words, and that is exactly what their actions are. All right, now some of you guys can get mad at me all you want. That's fine. Again, actions speak louder than words. Now, as far as I'm concerned, not one of these organizations from me moving forward will ever get 1 second of my motherfucking time or 1 penny of my money, period. It's not going to happen. All right, I'm done with them. All right, now we're going to talk about some of the attacks that have taken place here in regards to what I've seen. Now, the laser pointer, okay, you can buy laser pointers on eBay, which are relatively powerful. Now, there's a limit on how powerful they're supposed to be. But some of these laser pointers will pop a balloon and ignite matches and other flammable material out to 100 meters or 300 feet. I don't think it's that far. But when you're talking about damaging the eyes, it really doesn't take much. Okay, you stare at the sun for, 90 seconds, you stand a good chance of permanently damaging your retinas. Okay, so imagine a laser with, way, way more power than that directly into your eyes. Not a good thing. Now, there's other types of lasers. What I saw on the video coverage was green lasers and blue lasers, but there's ultraviolet lasers and so forth, which are very dangerous. Now, in my opinion, when you're using something to intentionally blind another individual, that's deadly force. It's very easy to put some snipers on the roof, have some nods, identify people doing that shit, and fucking take them out. People get upset at that, but when you fuck around with deadly force, you actually stand the risk of receiving deadly force. All right, now the fireworks. They're saying commercial, professional grade of fireworks. From what I've seen, that is the case. Now, the line between commercial grade and just standard fireworks sold to the general population is roughly an 8-ounce charge. When they say it's an 8-ounce charge, that isn't all explosive force. It's roughly a 3-to-1 basically recipe where if you have an 8-ounce charge, 2 ounces are basically the explosive force and 6 ounces is the propellant to drive it into the air. Typically you want that stuff, anywhere from 200 to 500 feet, sometimes more depending upon how big it is. But I'm not a professional fireworks guy. I just went with what I read on the internet and some of the books I have laying around in the Lair. All right, now another thing I came up with, actually, I did the research. A quarter a stick of dynamite equivalent is roughly 16 grams to 28 grams of flash powder, depending upon the recipe of the flash powder. Some of them get pretty nasty, depending upon how much aluminum you have in there and other metal particles, and what type of oxidants you use to have it go off. So roughly that's somewhere between, that's right around 1 1/4 ounce of powder. All right, now that's a quarter stick of dynamite. All right, so just at the very edge of civilian and commercial grade fireworks, you have a 2-ounce charge, which is roughly, a quarter to half a stick of dynamite right there. That is pretty loud. Typically in a hand grenade, the explosive force that you have in there to propel the fragments or shrapnel is roughly, a third to a half stick of dynamite. As we go up in the sizes of the shells, the 5-inch, which is like this, 6-inch, 8-inch shells, have anywhere from 4 ounces of explosives powder to 5 to 60 ounces and so forth. When you start getting up in this, now I'm just talking about the mortar shells that have the report, all right, the one that have the explosion, because those are the ones that actually can do the most damage with concussive force. The other ones could burn you, that throw off the sparks and so forth. Yeah, that's bad. If it gets in your eyes, it could damage your eyes. But the lethality on that goes down quite a bit. So when you start getting into the 5, 6, 8-ounce shells that vary in weight, you start going up anywhere from 1 stick, 2 sticks, 3 sticks of dynamite. All right, now some of the ones that have the 3 sticks of dynamite report shells, those are usually have enough powder to propel that a minimum of 500 feet into the air. You could basically take that mortar, put it on its side, lob them in there, or light it, throw it over the fence, and just hope for the best. Again, this is deadly force. All right, now 1 stick of dynamite can kill you with concussive force, especially if it detonates within 1 arm's length of your body, and if it's closer to your head. Especially if we start getting to 2 and 3 sticks of dynamite, that 1 arm's length, 3 sticks of dynamite can instantly kill you if it's timed just right. All right, now this is not even putting any shrapnel on that. This is just concussive force. All right, now moving forward is some stuff that I think is going to happen. They're starting to, find basically the prepping of these attacks. Because what they like to do is somebody will make the stuff off site, another individual will transport it, hand it off, that individual will take it and drop it off, and then you have individuals on the ground that will take that equipment and use it. And by doing that, you really don't know who is in the chain, so if somebody gets caught, they really can't roll on too many people. So bear with me. All right, next, you're going to start seeing a bow and arrow, frag munition, which can easily be made with a 12-gauge shotgun shell and, hook it right up to the end of the arrow. You can even tape it on with duct tape, fire it in there. If you get a direct hit, you're going to take off an arm and a leg. If it hits the ground, you're going to damage feet, maybe take out an eye. All right, you can also do the same thing with a contact explosive, which can be made very similar to that with black powder, dip it in wax, roll it in BBs, cover it in tape, put a primer charge on there, or basically a primer cap from a shotgun shell. When it makes contact, it detonates, throws off fragments everywhere. And since you're using a bow and arrow or a compound bow and arrow, that thing will fire accurately within a 20 to 30 meter circle, roughly 100 to 150 yards, if you arc it just right. You get 5 or 6 guys doing the same thing, you can cause a lot of damage to anyone in that area. All right, now I don't want that to happen, but I've been reading some of the stuff on my intel sites, and then this is starting to escalate. Now, the good old-fashioned pipe bomb, anyone can make that in their house. And to make it even more insidious, you can have it drone delivery. And this isn't like dominoes. You can make yourself a pipe bomb, hook it up very similar to how the contact explosive on the arrow, fly it over, drop it, boom. It'll cause all kinds of problems. Or you can, just walk up, throw it over the fence, but you'll probably wind up on camera. And you may or may not have somebody in the crowd who's not cool with that will take steps to apprehend you or injure you, and thus increases your chances of getting caught. Now, next you have the acid base attacks. This is very popular in the Middle East. They throw an acid or a strong base at you, and it basically dissolves your flesh, blinds you, burns off your hair, and this is incredibly nasty. And some of the stuff, they could do it and it doesn't start to burn right away, and that gives you time to make your escape. I'm just saying, I don't want any of this to happen, but it's looking like this is what's coming down the pipe. Next, you have spike strips used to disable cars. You could roll them out in front of said agents, do something, cause agents to chase you, and they run across the spike strip and they wind up injuring their feet, or they fall on it and injure different parts of your body. Now, another attack, which is I've seen in Iraq, is a chlorine gas attack. Now, for those of you thinking, hey, gas attack, NBC attacks, that's not possible. They did gas attacks, chlorine attacks in World War I. And all they really had was chlorine and ammonia in 2 different glass bottles. They get smashed on the ground at the same time. It produces chlorine gas, which damages your lungs and interferes with your red blood cells in and around your heart and lungs. And last but not least, good old-fashioned sniper attack. All right, now, you can buy on the open market a heavy barrel bolt action sub 1 minute of angle rifle and pick up a $200 to $500 first focal plane mil dot scope, zero that out to 500 meters, and there's really nothing they could do to stop that other than have other snipers on standby. So what I'm trying to say here is this is going to escalate. All right, and it's going to get to the point where the only way to stop this is you're going to have to shoot these individuals involved in this and track down and viciously arrest, charge, and find anyone involved in escalating this bullshit, because that's where we are. All right, so hopefully you found this entertaining, if not informative, and please do me a favor, share it with your friends, because I can guarantee you, you're not getting a spin like this anywhere on the internet. Out.